astronomers detected something strange happening in the darkness of space. They picked up a series of bizarre, unexplained signals coming from distant stars in the Ursa Major constellation. And literally no one can explain their origin. Is it some unknown natural phenomenon or something far more mysterious, more artificial? Let's explore this latest space discovery, the science behind these signals from space, and what scientists believe might be sending them. So, scientists picked up two identical bursts of energy coming from deep space. They weren't random and they weren't background noise. They seemed to be precise and even kind of purposeful. The signals came from the constellation Ursa Major. It lies about 100 light-years away from our planet. The star emitting those signals is called HD 89389. It's a little bigger and brighter than our Sun, but nothing too unusual. That is, until 2023. That's when NASA scientist Richard Stanton noticed something he'd never seen before. The star suddenly flashed, getting bright, then dim, then bright again, and it happened in just a few seconds. There were two identical pulses, exactly 4.4 seconds apart. According to Stanton, the star's behavior was beyond strange. The changes in brightness were far too powerful to be dismissed as random noise or the result of turbulence in Earth's atmosphere. A star over 1 million miles wide doesn't simply fade in and out like that. For a star to just blink out like that in 1/10 of a second is not the kind of thing science can explain easily. But it got even more curious. And the more scientists looked, the stranger it got. Apparently, this wasn't just a flicker, it was deliberate. It looked like something made that light change. But what could it be? It was a truly deep space mystery. So for the next 2 months, Stanton worked a lot. 1,500 hours of total observation time, checking every possible explanation. He compared the data to lightning strikes, airplane reflections, meteors, and even software malfunctions. And every single time, the result was the same. Nothing matched. That's when the research team had to admit what no one expected. Apparently, they couldn't rule out the possibility that those pulses might be artificial. The thing is, after checking every possible explanation, Stanton realized that their space telescope discovery wasn't something anyone had seen before. It couldn't be explained as static, it wasn't lightning, and it definitely wasn't a passenger plane flying by. But it reminded him of something. You see, back in 2019, astronomers detected another strange double pulse. This one was coming from a hot gas giant called Dimidium, about 50 light-years away from Earth. At first, experts laughed it off and blamed it on birds flying through the telescope's field of view. But the new signal didn't seem like one of those simple mix-ups. So, Stanton kept digging. He looked at everything and concluded that a shockwave in Earth's atmosphere could explain the signals. But that idea didn't quite fit. For all 3 pulses to sync up that perfectly, the timing would have had to be almost impossible. The researchers also looked into other possibilities. Maybe the light was bent by some far-off object in our solar system. Maybe a satellite or asteroid partially blocked it. Or maybe it was caused by refraction or even gravitational waves. But none of those theories really made sense either. Some details were clearly missing for astrophysicists to explain how a star could blink that fast and that cleanly. For now, Stanton believes the only way forward is to study all 3 known events more closely and see which explanations still hold up. You're probably asking yourself, how was this astronomy discovery even made? It started more than 60 years ago. That's when scientists officially kicked off the search for life beyond Earth. They called it the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or SETI. The pioneer of this undertaking was something called Project Ozma. It was led by astronomer Frank Drake, the same guy who came up with the famous Drake equation. This equation is a way for scientists to make an educated guess about how many worlds in our galaxy might have intelligent life that can send out signals we could detect. The idea is simple. You start with how many stars are born in our galaxy. Then you figure out how many of those stars have planets and how many of those planets could support life. Then you gotta figure out how many of those worlds might actually have living things and how many of those might develop intelligent beings. And finally, you try to calculate how many of those might build technology that could let them communicate with other civilizations, like ours. Now, the equation isn't really meant to give a clear number. It's more like a big thought experiment that helps scientists consider all those different pieces needed for life to exist and be noticed in the universe. Anyway, back in 1960, Drake and his team pointed a giant 82-foot radio dish at two nearby stars, Epsilon Eridani and Tau Ceti, and listened for anything unusual. Between April and July of that year, the observatory in West Virginia stayed tuned in, waiting for a signal from the stars. Unfortunately, nothing came through. But the project became the starting point of everything that came after. Since then, scientists have carried out dozens of similar searches using all kinds of wavelengths and technologies to find signs of intelligent life. These days, we call them technosignatures. And while no one's found solid proof yet, there have been a few moments where even experts couldn't rule out the possibility that something, or someone, might be out there. That's where Dr. Richard Stanton comes in and makes the shocking space discovery. Stanton is a NASA scientist who worked on some of the most iconic missions like Voyager and Grace. The latter was a project by NASA and the German Space Agency, where two satellites flew around Earth together, side by side. By watching how the distance between them changed, scientists could see how Earth's gravity shifted in different places. That helped them learn about things like melting ice, ocean movement, underground water, and even climate change. But after retiring, Stanton took on a personal project, searching for intelligent life from his own Shea Meadow Observatory in Big Bear, California. Using a custom-built telescope and a photometer he designed himself, Stanton spent years scanning more than 1,300 sun-like stars, not for radio signals from space, but for flashes of light. Unlike traditional SETI studies that focus on radio waves, Stanton's approach, called optical SETI, looks for laser-like pulses, sharp, quick bursts of light that could be used for communication across the stars. This idea actually goes back to the early 1960s, when two scientists suggested that advanced civilizations might use incredibly powerful nanosecond laser pulses to send visible signals that could outshine their own stars. For this study, Stanton didn't scan huge portions of the sky. Instead, he focused on one star at a time. He was staring at it for an hour straight and recording its light at incredibly tiny intervals, just 100 microseconds apart. That's fast enough to catch flashes less than a blink of an eye. Then he analyzed the data, searching for any strange repeating patterns and unexplained signals. And eventually, his efforts paid off, and he made the very space discovery we talked about. A sun-like star about 100 light-years away in the constellation Ursa Major sent two fast, identical pulses of light. So far, these signals remain unexplained. No one knows for sure what caused those perfect twin pulses. We can't even figure out how far away the source really was. Was something passing in front of the star? Or was the light itself being changed by something we don't understand yet? What we do know is that something strange is happening out there in Ursa Major. Maybe it's a new kind of cosmic event. Or maybe it's something else entirely. And one day, we'll crack this deep space mystery.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.